अब ये हुआ कि हाइड्रो पायलट ने कहा कि मिस्टर लिडनर ने मारा है. A perfectly possible account of the actions of a grief-dazed man. Now listen to what I believe to be the truth. Dr. Ledner enters the room, hurries to the window, and having pulled on a pair of gloves. तो मारा कैसे? Now there's a hole in the cone. उन्होंने कौन से बताया, कौन जो होता है जिससे कि करते हैं, एक होन से ऊपर से नीचे मारा, मिसेस लाइडनर के सर पे लगा. मिसेस लाइडनर अंदर गई और हीप पे उनके विंडो के पास हो गया. फिर ये नीचे आए, इन्होंने अपनी बीवी की बॉडी उठाई और उसको बिस्तर पे लगाया. फिर एक मैट था जो जिसपे कि खून लगा था, जो विंडो के पास था, तो उन्होंने उस मैट को स्विच विद द वन नियर जो कि तुम्हारे वॉश बेसिन था, स्वैप किया.
मजा करके ये आए.
हाँ
और फिर ऊपर गए.
हाँ. मर्डर किया, फिर 1 घंटा वेट किया, 1 घंटे बाद नीचे आया, फिर अपनी बीवी का चेंज किया. Did I not tell you all along that this was a crime personal? Why did her first husband, Frederick Brosner, threaten to kill her? Because he loved her, and in the end, you see, he made good his boast. My, oi, once I realized that it is Dr. Ledner who did the killing, everything falls into place. For the second time, I recommence my journey from the beginning. Mrs. Ledner's first marriage, the threatening letters, her second marriage. मतलब अब वो कहता है कि देखो, अब मैं ये मान के चलूं कि डॉक्टर ने ही मारा है, सब चीज़ें फॉल प्लेस करती हैं. मिसेस लाइडनर की पहली मैरिज, थ्रेटनिंग लेटर. द लेटर्स प्रिवेंटेड हर मैरिंग एनी अदर मैन, बट दे डिड नॉट प्रिवेंट हर मैरिंग डॉक्टर लेडनर. वो लेटर्स जो थे, जब तक डॉक्टर लेडनर नहीं आए थे तब तक वो वापस नहीं आए थे. हाउ सिंपल दैट इज इफ मिस्टर डॉक्टर लेडनर इज एक्चुअली फ्रेडरिक ब्रॉसनर. फ्रेडरिक ब्रॉसनर ही है डॉक्टर लेडनर. Once more, let us start our journey from the point of view, this time of young Frederick Brosner. To begin with, he loves his wife Louise with an overpowering passion, such as only a woman of her kind can evoke. मतलब वो अपनी बीवी से बहुत प्यार करते थे. She betrays him, he is sentenced to death, he escapes. Betray किया, उनको मौत के घाट उतारा और वो escape करते हैं.
किनको मौत के घाट उतारा?
मौत के घाट की सजा मिली थी ना फ्रेडरिक ब्रॉसनर को.
अब वो escape कर गए.
वो escape कर गया ना. He escapes. He is involved in a railway accident, but he manages to emerge with a second personality, that of a young Swedish archaeologist. रेलवे एक्सीडेंट होता है, पर एक दूसरी पर्सनालिटी के रूप में आता है, स्वीडिश आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट एरिक लाइडा, whose body is badly disfigured and who will be conveniently buried as Frederick Brosner. एक दूसरा स्वीडिश आदमी जिसका नाम था एरिक लाइडनर, ठीक है ना, उसकी बॉडी पूरी तरीके से खराब हो गई थी और उसको फ्रेडरिक ब्रॉसनर के नाम पे डाल दिया गया और ये जो थे एरिक लाइडनर के रूप में आ गया. What is the new Eric Leidner's attitude to the woman who was willing to send him to his death? First and most important, he still loves her.
ये वही आदमी था.
हाँ, वही आदमी था.
तो ये बुढ़ा कैसे बन गया?
अभी देखो, he sets to work to build up his new life. He is a man of great ability. His profession is congenial to him, and he makes a success of it. मतलब फ्रेडरिक बॉसनर जो था बहुत कॉम्पिटेंट आदमी था. He does very well in the profession. एरिक बॉसनर की जगह जो कि आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट था, और फिर वो उस काम में बहुत अच्छा करता है. But he never forgets the ruling passion of his life. He keeps himself informed of his wife's movements. Of one thing he is cold-blooded determined. Remember Mrs. Leidner's own description of him to Mrs. Nurse Lithren: gentle and kind but ruthless. मैं जेंटल और काइंड थे पर बेरहम भी था. ये था, मतलब फ्रेडरिक बॉसनर जो था उस तरीके का था. Shall belong to no other man. Whenever he judges it necessary, he dispatches a letter. He imitates some of the peculiarities of her handwriting in case she should think of taking the letter to the police. अब ये बड़ा चतुर आदमी था. इसने क्या किया कि ऐसे डिसाइड बनाई कि उनकी जो हैंडराइटिंग थी उसने इमिटेट कर दी, ताकि वो मिसेस लाइडनर जो हैं, जो वो थी, वो कभी भी पुलिस के पास ना जा सके. Women who write sensational anonymous letters to themselves are such a common phenomenon that the police will be sure to jump at the solution given the likeness of the handwriting. मतलब कई औरतें जो हैं खुद को बहुत एनोनिमस लेटर्स लिखती हैं, तो पुलिस जो है फिर उस पर कहेंगे कि भाई इन्होंने खुद लिखा है. At the same time, he leaves her in doubt as to whether he is really alive or not. At last, after many years, he judges that time has arrived and he re enters her life. All goes well. His wife never dreams of his real identity. Wife तो सोच के बैठी थी कि मर चुका है, तो वो कभी भी उनकी उसकी रियल आइडेंटिटी नहीं सोच पाई. He is a well known man. The upstanding, good looking young fellow is now middle aged man with a beard and stooping shoulders. मतलब वो जो यंग आदमी था वो एक मिडिल एज्ड आदमी हो गया था और उसका शोल्डर से स्टूप हो गया था. ये तो मुझे थोड़ा सा टफ लग रहा है बिलीव करना.
अब उन्हें शक्ल तो पहचान लेगी.
ये तो मैं भी नहीं सोच पा रहा. ये तो हिंदी मूवी. एंड सो वी सी हिस्ट्री रिपीटिंग itself. As before, Frederick is able to dominate Louis. For second time, she consents to marry him, and no letter comes to forbid the banns. But afterwards, a letter does come by. I think Dr. Ledner is taking no chances. The intimacy of marriage might have awakened a memory. He wishes to impress on his wife once and for all that Eric Leidner and Frederick Bosner are two different people. उसको ये कन्विंस करना था कि एरिक लाइडनर और फ्रेडरिक बॉसनर दो अलग अलग लोग हैं, तो उसने फिर से लेटर लिखा.
तो वो चिट्ठी भिजवाता था.
So that a threatening letter comes from the former on account of the latter. The rather puerile gas poisoning business follows, arranged by Dr. Leidner, of course, still with the same object in view. After that, he is satisfied no more letters need come, they can settle down to happy married life together. And then, after nearly 2 years, the letters recommence. Why, Eben? I think I know. Because the threat underlying the letters was always a genuine threat. That is why Mrs. Leidner has always been frightened. मतलब 2 साल बाद फिर से वो लेटर्स स्टार्ट होते हैं, क्योंकि वो जो थ्रेट था वो जेन्युइन था. She knew her Frederick's gentleness but ruthless nature. If she belongs to any other man but him, he would kill her. And she has given herself to Richard Carey. और उसने जो था मिसेस लाइडना को रिचर्ड कैरी पसंद आ गया था, तो वो लेटर्स रिकमेंस हुए. And so, having discovered this cold-bloodedly calmly, Dr. Ledner prepares a scene of murder. You see, now the important part played by Nurse Lethren, Dr. Rather's rather curious conduct, it puzzled me at very first, in securing her services for a wife is explained. It was vital that a reliable professional witness should be able to state incontrovertibly that Mrs. Leidner had been dead over an hour when her body was found. मतलब ये कि जब उनकी बॉडी मिली थी तो 1 घंटे पहले मर चुकी थी, ये क्योंकि प्लान में था. That is that she had been killed at a time when everybody could swear that the husband was on the roof. हर आदमी को ये कहना था कि भाई हस्बैंड तो रूफ पे था 1 घंटे पहले से, बॉडी 1 घंटे बाद मिली. A suspicion might have arisen that he had killed her when he entered the room and found the body, but that was out of the question when a trained hospital nurse would assert positively that she had already been dead an hour. मतलब नर्स का होना इसलिए ज़रूरी था कि नहीं तो ये कोई कह सकता था ना कि आपने अंदर जाके मार दिया और फिर उसको कर दे, वो नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि वो जो औरत है वो 1 घंटे पहले मर चुकी है. Another thing that is explained is the curious state of tension and strain that had come over the expedition this year. इस साल expedition में strain था. I never from the first thought that this could be attributed solely to Mrs. Leidner's influence. For several years, this particular expedition had had a reputation for happy good fellowship. In my opinion, the state of mind of a community is always directly due to the influence of the man at the top. Dr. Leidner, quite though he was a man of great personality. It was due to his tact, to his judgment, to his sympathetic manipulation of human beings that the atmosphere was always a happy one. Tactful थे, जजमेंट थे, तो हमेशा जो एटमॉस्फेयर था वो हमेशा खुशमेल सा था. If there was a change, therefore the change must be due to the man at the top. अब बदलाव है तो इसलिए क्योंकि जो टॉप का आदमी है उसके मूड खराब है. In other words, to Dr. Leidner, it was Dr. Leidner, not Mrs. Leidner, who was responsible for the tension and uneasiness. No wonder the staff felt the change without understanding it. चेंज तो है डॉक्टर लाइडनर के कारण हुआ था और स्टाफ जो था उसने फील किया. The kindly genial Dr. Lennon, outwardly the same, was only playing the part of himself. The real man was an obsessed fanatic plotting to kill. And now we will pass on to the second murder, that of Mrs. Johnson. In tidying up Dr. Ledner's papers in the office, a job she took herself unasked, craving for something to do, she must have come on some unfinished draft of one of the anonymous letters. तो मिसेस जॉनसन ने वो anonymous लेटर का एक ड्राफ्ट देखा होगा. It must have been both incomprehensible and extremely upsetting to her. Dr. Ledner had been deliberately terrorizing his wife. She cannot understand it, but it upsets her very badly. It is in this mood that Nurse Ledner discovers her crime. I do not think at the moment that she suspects Dr. Ledner of being the murderer, but my experiments with sounds in Mrs. Ledner's and Father Lavigny's rooms are not lost upon her. मतलब ये कि मिसेस जॉनसन को शक हो गया था कि डॉक्टर लाइडनर ने हो सकता है मर्डर किया हो, क्योंकि वो जो एक्सपेरिमेंट्स थे मिसेस लाइडनर एंड फादर लेवेगनीज वो नहीं था. शी रियलाइजेस दैट इफ इट वाज मिसेस लाइडनर्स क्राई शी हर्ड. मिसेस लाइडनर की हो सकता है क्राई सुनिए. द विंडो इन आवर रूम मस्ट हैव बीन ओपन नॉट शट. अगर मिसेस लाइडनर की आवाज उसको आई है, क्योंकि इन्होंने जब क्या किया था विंडो क्लोज करके किया था ना तो आवाज नहीं आई थी, पर जब विंडो खुली हुई है तब आवाज आ सकती है. तो मिसेस जॉनसन को लगा कि मेरे पास आवाज आई थी, मतलब कि विंडो ओपन थी. एट द मोमेंट दैट कन्वेज नथिंग वाइटल टू हर, बट शी रिमेंबर्स इट. पर मिसेस जॉनसन रिमेंबर ये करती हैं कि अगर आवाज आई तो विंडो ओपन थी. हर माइंड गोज ऑन वर्किंग फिटिंग इट्स वे. विंडो तो खुली थी ना, वो तो उसने वो डाला, विंडो खोली थी तो उसने प्लास्टिसीन का डाला. तो मिसेस लाइडनर को गुस्सा है कि भैया ये मेरे साथ कौन मजाक कर रहा है. तो वो गई, उन्होंने बाहर अपना सर किया और ऊपर देखा, ऊपर से इसने फेंक दिया और सर पे लग गई ना उसकी. Goes on working, ferreting its way towards the truth. Perhaps she makes some reference to the letters which Dr. Leidner understands and his manner changes. She may see that he is suddenly afraid.
He made her to open the window.
विंडो ओपन थी मम्मा, विंडो ओपन थी, वो सोने गई थी ना. उनको ऊपर से प्लास्टिसीन का चेहरा वो दिखाया, वो जो आता है ना, तो इनको लगा कि भाई ये दोपहरी में मेरे साथ कौन मजाक, क्योंकि पिछली बार तो रात में कोई कर रहा था. तो भाग के गई और अपना सर जो था विंडो से बाहर निकाला. इसने ऊपर से वो क्विवर जो था ओपन थी, वही तो थी ना विंडो. हाँ, वो गई विंडो पे है ना. उन्होंने कहा कि मैं इस मास्क को देखते हुए ऊपर कौन है, तो इसने ऊपर से वो पत्थर फेंक दिया और पत्थर को रोल अप कर दिया.
पत्थर फेंक के
ऊपर ले लिया ना, उसे उसमें लूप कर लिया था. बट her mind goes on working, ferreting its way towards the truth. Perhaps she makes some reference to the letters which Dr. Leidner understands and his manner changes. She may see this, he is suddenly afraid. Suddenly देखा कि Dr. Leidner डर गए. But Dr. Leidner cannot have killed his wife. He was on the roof all the time. And then one evening, as she herself is on the roof, puzzling about it, the truth comes out to her in a flash. Mrs. Leidner had been killed from up here through the open window. It was at that minute that Nurse Lutheran found her. And immediately her old affection reasserting herself, she put a quick camouflage. Nurse Lutheran must not guess the horrifying discovery she has made. तो जॉनसन को पता लग गया था कि खून ऊपर से हुआ है. She looks deliberately in the opposite direction towards the courtyard and makes a remark suggested to her by Father Lavigny's appearance as he crosses the courtyard. वो फादर लेविग्नी courtyard का क्रॉस कर रहे थे तो मतलब उसने देख लिया था कि भैया विंडो की तरफ, तो फिर मुड़ी और मुड़ के फादर लेविग्नी जब जा रहे थे तब उसने रिमार्क बोला. She refuses to say more. She's got to think things out. And Dr. Ledner, who has been watching her anxiously, realizes she knows the truth. She is not the kind of woman to conceal her horror and distress from him. It is true that as yet she has not given him away, but how long can he depend on her? Murder is a habit. That night he substitutes a glass of acid for a glass of water. There is just a chance she may be believed to have poisoned herself. There is even a chance she may be considered to have done the first murder and now overcome with remorse. To strengthen the Latin idea, he takes the quern from the roof and puts it under her bed. No wonder that poor Miss Johnson, in death agony, could only try desperately to impart her hard won information through the window, and that is how Miss Ledner was killed. Not through the door, but through the window. And so that everything is explained, everything falls into place. Psychologically perfect. But there is no proof at all. None of us spoke. We were lost in a sea of horror, yes, not only horror, pity too. Dr. Leidler neither moved or spoken. He just sat there as he had done all along, a tired, elderly man. At last he stirred slightly and looked at Poirot with gentle, tired eyes. No, he said, there is no proof. But that does not matter. You know that I would not deny the truth. I've never denied truth. I think really I'm rather glad I'm so tired. Then he said simply, I'm sorry about Anne. That was bad, senseless. It wasn't me. And she suffered too, poor soul. Yes, that wasn't me. It was fear. A little smile just hovered on his plain, twisted lips. You would have made a good archaeologist, Mercule Pyro. You have the gift of recreating the past. It was all very much as you said. I loved Louis and I killed her. If you had known Lead, you would have understood. No, I think you would understand anyway. बस मामा हो गई खत्म. Last, Levan. There isn't any more to say about things. They got Father Levigny and the other man just as they were going to board a steamer at Beirut. Sheila really married young Emmett. I think that'll be good for her. He's no doormat and he'll keep her in her place. She would have ridden roughshod over poor Bill Coleman. I nursed him, by the way, when he had appendicitis a year ago. I got quite fond of him. His people were sending him out to farm in South Africa. I've never been to East again. It's funny. Sometimes I wish I could. I think of the noise the water wheel made and the woman washing in that queer haughty look that camels give you. And I get quite homesick feeling. After all, perhaps dirt isn't so unhealthy as one is brought up to believe. Doctor really usually looks me up when he's in England, and as I said, it's he who got me into this. Take it or leave it, I said to him. I know the grammar's all wrong, and it's not properly written or anything like that, but there it is. And he took it, made no bones about it. It'll give me a queer feeling if it's ever printed. Monsieur Pyre went back to Syria, and about a week later, he went home on the Orient Express and got himself mixed up in another murder. He was clever, I don't deny it, but I shan't forgive him in a hurry for pulling my leg the way he did, pretending to think I might be mixed up in the crime and not a real hospital nurse after all. Doctors are like that sometimes, will have their jokes, some of them will, and will never think of their feelings. I thought and thought about Mrs. Leidner and what she was really like. Sometimes it seems to me she was just a terrible woman. Other times I remember how nice to me she was and how soft her voice was and her lovely fair hair and everything. And I feel perhaps after all, she was more to be pitied than blamed. And I can't help but pity Dr. Leidner. He knew he was a murderer twice over, but it doesn't seem to make any difference. He was so dreadfully fond of her. It's awful to be fond of anyone like that. Somehow, the more I get older, the more I see of people, the sadness and illness and everything, the sorrier I get for everyone. Sometimes I declare, I don't know what's become of the good strict principles my aunt brought me up with. A very religious woman she was, and most particular. There wasn't one of our neighbors whose fault she didn't know backwards and forwards. Oh dear, it's quite true what Dr. Ellie said. How does one stop writing if I could really find a good telling phrase? I must ask Dr. Ellie for some Arab one, like the one Monsieur Pala said. In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate, something like that.